get into my next session, which is where you're gonna be with me, guys. So Lai, am I on and I'm able? You're able to see my screen, guys? Great. Right. So let me go on. So good morning, friends. Good morning for India, and good morning for all the other part of the world, and good afternoon for Malaysia. So we start on my session, which is another 20-30 minutes quickly. After this session, there's going to be a quick 15 minutes common track exercise session by SH, because as we all sit in house, we are getting a little bit bulkier right in the middle of our body, which is called a stomach, right? All those who wanted 6 packs, they have 1 family pack now. So for that purpose, we have got a 15 minutes after my session for the workout session. You can join or you can sit and watch on how, so that you can practice that later in your stuff. Okay, guys, hold on. Are you able to see me? Right. Yeah, now you should be able to see me then. Great. Okay, guys, so let's get started again. So this next 20 minutes plus is about cyber kill chain, guys. You saw me doing quick demos. What you have seen me doing is a simple weaponization of a Word document. And another way, I'm actually using the web application to hack into the database, which is exploitation. So a hack, an attack happens through the multiple stages, right? So they just don't simply run into your device. They just don't simply run into your website. They just don't simply jump into your infrastructure and take over. There is some kind of work that has happened in the back. So there is a string of steps that hackers take before an entire compromise or a complete compromise happens in your infrastructure. So that is what we are going to see in the next 20 minutes. So the topic of the day for me is cyber kill chain defense in-depth strategy. For those who are hearing me for the first time, I'm Clement. I'm the CEO of Carpagam Technologies, also a CEO of Carpagam Education Services, also a group CTO of Vigilant Asia. So I wear multiple hats. We work with multiple governments across this region. We have done projects all the way till Nigeria, and actually welcome to my Nigerian friends who are part of this live virtual conference. I'm happy to have you here. So I'm actually with around 15 years plus in cybersecurity, and in total around 23 years in IT. I've been actually doing a lot of penetration testing, vulnerability assessments, strategizing organization, banks and governments from a national cybersecurity framework or organizational cyber resilience framework. So that's what we do as a company with respect to the pen test, assessment, and all the others that comes as the bells and whistles there afterwards. Okay, let's get on to this, guys. This is the slide that Noel stole it from me, and he said that he used it during his speech in the morning in his welcome note, guys. So attacks happens all over the place. They don't see whether it is a small company or the big company. The bigger you are, the more you get. The smaller and more interesting you are, the more you get. So if you really are growing as a small medium enterprise, there are very high chances that you are getting a lot of attacks. If it's not, it's on the way. Definite, guys. So how is all these attacks happening? Why is all our defenses not enough? Are we actually doing the right stuff? Why are we always losing to the bad guys? So these are the questions that lingers on everyone's mind. If you're from IT department, or you're from cybersecurity, like a CISO, or even if you're a management guy, where your IT guys will keep on coming and asking you for budget, you might be thinking, when is this all going to stop? When am I going to be more secure? Why am I keep on buying? And end of the day, you have tons and tons of different solutions, which might not giving you the right return of investment or a right return of quality cybersecurity measurement that you are looking for. So how do we achieve it? Is there a way that we can actually come up with a strategy? For us to come up with a strategy, we need to understand the cyber kill chain. Cyber kill chain is a basic a model derived by our Lockheed Martin derived the kill chain framework from a military model, which is originally like identify, prepare to attack, engage, and destroy the target. That's more of a military kind of a thing, right? So the kill chain was actually like, what would the hackers do? If you actually start like looking at a very simple attack all the way to a more complicated, advanced, persistent threat campaigns kind of a scenario, everything would have followed a similar path. So if you actually start actually mapping all these attacks to a commonality in them, you will get the cyber kill chain automatically. So what Lockheed Martin did was they actually got it documented so everyone can refer to it. So cyber kill chain is not the single version of the truth. There are multiple versions and variations of the cyber kill chain. I'll show you two variations in this 20 minutes, and then we can understand it further. Guys, one more thing. Whatever I'm actually explaining you now on every stages, we will show you a live demo for each of that stage in the 45 minutes that comes after that 15 minutes exercise session that's gonna follow after my session. Okay, so right, so from inception, the kill chain has evolved to anticipate and recognize all kind of attacks, right? And there's a series of steps as I explained to you. So what are these steps? What is and how does this cyber kill chain look like? The step number one is always reconnaissance, intelligence gathering. Okay, now depending upon the kind of attack, the intelligence gathering would differ. For example, if they are going to attack you, and if it's a targeted attack, that means they have decided to compromise you as a person or as a company, right? So if they have decided to target your company, then they will be doing an intelligence gathering or reconnaissance based upon you or your company. Who's all your family members? Like, for example, if they personally want to actually compromise you, they're going to look for what is your email address, what is your personal email address and your professional email address. We would have been giving those information all over the place in the internet by now. We have tons of actually fingerprints and footprints all over the internet, guys. So they will look for our email addresses. Then they will look for our mobile number, right? And I'll show you later in that 45 minutes demo how easy it is to get your mobile number and your email address. So if they are going to target you or your company, they might start looking for those important people who have higher privileges in the company, right? So that they can get more probability of getting into the organization. So from a personal side, they might be looking on your email addresses, phone numbers, your family members, your friends, your Facebook ID, where you go. There's a whole lot of actually mapping that happens from an individual perspective, friends. If it's a company perspective, they're going to look at what are the different domains, subdomains, what kind of technology you are running, what kind of patch level are you in, is there any vulnerabilities in your digital assets. So a whole lot of different kind of information gathering happens. So these are targeted attacks. That if it's not targeted, by the way, it was a vulnerability in a software and you are using that software. For example, a lot of like companies and agencies we see in this part of the world, they use WordPress. And there are a lot of people who use Joomla, okay? The Joomla or the Zoomla, however you pronounce it as, Joomla. A lot of content management systems, free content management systems. So it is easier if you're actually using all this open source free content management system. On an average, these content management systems have tons of vulnerabilities, around 5 to 6 a month minimum. So if they have actually looked for the WordPress vulnerability and they are searching the whole internet or your particular country, for everyone who's using WordPress or Joomla, and they are attacking those sites. If you are using that particular website or the software, you will get compromised. So it wasn't a targeted attack on your company, it was a targeted attack on a vulnerability. So this is what happened with the Blue Keep vulnerability in Microsoft, which was attacking the SMB ports. And there's a lot of other vulnerability centric attacks that might not be a targeted intelligence gathering on your computer or on your organization or on your individual persons. Might be just that the vulnerability that they are scanning for and attacking, you had it because you were using your software. So that's all actually comes under the information gathering. The moment they actually have gathered all the informations, then comes weaponizing. See, that's what I told, like showed you earlier with the Microsoft Word weaponizing. How easy to generate a malware, drop it into a Word, and then send it across, right? So that is what is called as weaponization. They might send an email as if it is coming from your boss. They can send an email as if it is coming from your colleague. They can send an email as if it is coming from your vendor or contractor, someone that is linked to you. You might actually get an email from them with an attachment, with a probability, with a high probability of you opening up that document. See, that's what is called as your psychological manipulation, right? For example, if you are a marketing or a sales guy, and all of a sudden you get an email from your boss, a Q1, your 2020 Q1 KPI results, and then the body says, okay, dear so-and-so, I'm not happy with your KPI results for the first quarter, and this cannot continue. Let's meet up tomorrow morning 10:30 and let's discuss how to solve this. Please go through the attached document before coming and seeing me in my office. You're already manipulated. You were like pretty much, oh my God, how come I did not satisfy the KPI requirements? Oh, my boss is very angry with me. And you try to go and open that document. The moment you open that document, you are infected, correct? So a weaponization is a process where you decide what is that you're going to send in to initiate the cycle of the compromise or exploitation. The delivery that I actually told you just now, coming as an email into your delivery. Okay, forgive me on that spelling mistake, right? Delivery. You deliver the document via an email as if it is coming from your boss. Then the moment someone opens that document, that is where the exploitation starts. You drop in a malware. Most of the malwares today actually goes in and runs in the memory of the computer rather than in the hard disk. They always piggyback on something else, or they might connect to the internet and they pull it as a DNS request or some kind of text request that your defenses might not pick up. So an exploitation happens even though you have your defenses in place, my dear friends, right? So once they actually exploit, they install the malware on the asset. Now, after they install, they will now then start communicating back to the hacker. Most of the malwares today are manually controlled or an automation that is running on the hacker's side. As how we are trying to move towards artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning for defenses, the hackers are also using all those technologies to make sure to evade all our defenses. The more we are trying to make their life difficult, the more miserable our defenses and our life becomes as a pain, where we need to put the right defenses in the right order to pick up these attacks, right? So once they get the command and control, once they're able to remote into your computers through your defenses, right, then they will be able to do whatever they want. Whether they're going to actually take all your data one time and then go off, or they're going to sit and then take over your computer and your network and then sit and watch everything that you do for the next few days or few months or few years or forever. So this is what we called as a cyber kill chain, guys, right? So I believe I'm still on time. There is no There's no ringing bell is happening over here. So I'm actually moving on. Now, this is another version of the kill chain. The same thing, but you will see a little bit of extra things that have come in over here. Importantly, you will find these two things: privilege escalation and lateral movement. This you see in lot of advanced attacks, right? When a machine is infected, the first thing that they will try to do is get a system privilege. A lot of people might actually think from user privilege, an attacker will go to an administrator privilege. No, whatever privilege they are in, they will always try to move to the system privilege, because the moment they get the system privilege, they get the super admin kind of a scenario inside your computer. And also remember, guys, your computer stores your user ID and password. Your computer stores your Active Directory administrator's user ID and password. So your computer has a lot of information. If you just know where to go and look for and how to retrieve that information, you will be able to get a complete control. That is why people say one computer is enough to compromise the entire organization. One wrong click is enough to compromise one computer, and one computer is enough to compromise the entire organization. So privilege escalation is now part of all the malwares that is out here today, guys. So the first step they will do is, from whichever privilege they are in, they will move into the system privilege. Once they move into system privilege, they can do a lot of things, as well as they can start laterally moving. There are two types of movements, right? If you have actually multiple network segmentations, they can move from one network segmentation to another network segmentation. There are two types of lateral movements: horizontal lateral movement on a flat network, and a vertical like network lateral movement if you have actually multiple network segmentations, depending upon how your network is being organized, right, guys? So they'll actually move horizontally, which is called as your east-west traffic. They also move vertically, which is your north-south traffic. So a lateral movement can happen horizontally or vertically. A simple example that I can give you as a use case for this is Sing Health. Singapore Health was compromised, and 1.5 million Singaporeans' data was actually taken from. Okay, this data is not a normal data, guys. It's the medical records, the 1.5 million Singaporeans medical records and in that 1.5 million, one of the person is the Prime Minister of Singapore, right? So it became a big hoo-ha. But when they actually looked at how it happened, is a USB, like what Mira told, showed you earlier. A simple USB was actually connected to one of the computers in the front desk. From there, they started the lateral movement journey of different network segments. They crossed over an 8+ network segments until they reached the core of the server, and they took the data and they left out. This entire APT campaign took 11 months. Makes sense, guys? 11 months we were not able to detect anything. That's where our problem is today, guys. So there is another method called as MITRE attack, or actually MITRE attack, that actually comes up with all this kill chain. So these are two different versions that you see over here, but it all comes back to this same thing. Maybe your exploitation is actually broken into few pieces, or your command and control is actually broken into few pieces. But again, it's all now sums back to the same cyber kill chain that we are talking about over here. The same privilege escalation, the same lateral movement, and actually what they do after that is what you see over here: credential access, and collections, and exfiltrations, and so on and so forth. Now, if you look from a Microsoft perspective, Microsoft actually takes this entire kill chain, they map it into their product. They have come up with a whole lot of cloud-based security in Microsoft, and they call it as a single Microsoft integrated solution. If you look at it if you're using an Office 365, Office 365 ATP will take care of all these email attachments. right? Any malware, all kind of malware that is coming through the emails, Office 365 ATP will take care. Then if it is coming from exploitation on your own computer exploitation, Windows Defender ATP will take care. You remember when I was showing you the word weaponization in the morning, I told you that if there was Windows Defender ATP on that machine or in this machine, it wouldn't have allowed it to run. Okay, so since Microsoft knows their PowerShell in the back, they know what the PowerShell will do and cannot do and all of that, they do a lot of defenses, or they actually put in a lot of anomalies and actual behavior sensors in the memory, and they can pick up a lot of attack. So Windows Defender ATP is actually having a technology called as endpoint detection and response, followed by an endpoint protection. So it's a EPP and EDR combined together, which is the next generation kind of protection that you're looking at, which is under Windows Defender ATP. Then from an identity perspective, they actually cover that up from Azure AD identity protection, and a whole lateral movement and everything is actually seen from Azure ATP itself, right? And any connector on the cloud that you are using, it's under Microsoft Cloud App Security. So all of that is connected back to Microsoft Azure Sentinel, which is like a cloud SIEM that integrates all these data points from your cloud infra, from your Office 365, as well as from your physical infrastructure. So if you want to have a complete integrated cloud plus on-premise security in a single platform, then Microsoft provides that as a Microsoft Azure Sentinel, which is a native cloud SIEM. So this is how Microsoft puts it in place. Now, what I have put for you is a very simple slide. I've actually put everything in over here that you can actually talk about. On the right, you see the NIST cybersecurity framework. Defense in depth strategy is very, very important, my dear friends, when it comes for your cybersecurity resilience framework. If you're only looking at antivirus, it's not going to cut out whatever antivirus you have, right? I'm not going to single out, okay, this antivirus is better than the other antivirus and so on and so forth. So it's pretty much any antivirus that you have, they might not be able to pick up all kind of attacks. So you need to have a layer one attack, or rather layer one like defense and a layer two defense. Now, if your layer one is antivirus, then your layer two defense is EDR, endpoint detection and response. So what I've done over here is I've actually given you for identification what all the things that you need in place. You need to have a proper risk assessment done. Amitabh will be talking to you about risk assessment after this. Down the track after another 1 or 2 sessions, and then your configuration management, your vulnerability scanning, your penetration testing, the asset management. A lot of people don't know what kind of assets do you have, and they don't have a single point of truth on what are the patch levels on each of the assets. So you need a proper cyber security asset management. When you speak about asset management, it doesn't mean that you need to have an inventory management. No, from a cyber security asset management, yes, you need to know the inventory, plus you need to know for each of that inventory item, what is your current exposure? What are the vulnerabilities down there? When did you patch? What kind of risk are you actually possessing through those assets? So that's very, very important for you to come up with a defense in depth strategy, my dear friends, right? And then under your protect, you have a long list for different types. See, you might not have a network that has all of these requirements. That is why I've given you a map. You can then decide what you want from an on-premise perspective, as you can see over here, from an on-premise perspective, from a private cloud perspective, from the public cloud perspective, and from an SAS perspective. Okay, so I've given you that, and you can actually drag and drop, or you can actually plug things from your right hand side and you can put on your left hand over here on to see what you can put. But always remember, layer one and layer two have a multiple layers, but when you're putting the layer one, make sure the entire layer one is complete. Now, how do you complete a layer one? For example, if you're having a server, then you're supposed to take care of the antiviruses in the server and the EDR in the server for layer 2. But let's see only layer 1. Antivirus. So that will take care of the server and your computers, right? So any infection that happens in a host, let's say your antivirus is supposed to pick up, right? Now, what happens if actually things start moving in your network? There's a lot of lateral movements is happening. How do you pick it up? Your firewall? No, your firewall is just a gatekeeper. He might not know everything what is happening inside your network. So that means you need to have a network monitoring system to actually monitor each packet of what is happening. Because if you're not able to find the malware in the computers itself, but you will be able to find all these kind of traffic that is running around inside your network and going out and coming in. Going out and coming in, your firewall may not pick up again, right? So the network monitoring, for example, there are tons of products down over there. Trend Micro DDI is one fantastic product. Then you have Darktrace, you have Last Lane. So you have a lot of these products out there to monitor your network for lateral movements and any kind of malwares and viruses that is moving in. So as a layer 1, you have taken care of your computers and servers. You're taking care of your network, bare minimum, right? Then you go into your websites. If you have a website, your layer 1 is web application firewall. Right, if you have an AD Active Directory, your layer 1 is an AD protection so that no one can simply go and change settings in your Active Directory. Right, so then you can come up with your identity management or your privilege access management to make sure that no one connects to your core, your crown jewels in your organization. So you can actually put that layer 1. After that, you can go for the layer 2, right? Because minimum is layer 1 incomplete. Then go to your layer 2. So if even one actually doesn't pick up, another will pick it up. So that is what we call as a defense in depth strategy. You might not be able to do everything internally. That's where you outsource to people, whether it's a managed cybersecurity service provider or your security operation centers, right? And we see a lot of SOC that operates only on SIEM. If you're only operating on SIEM, you might not be able to pick up a lot of attacks because logs can be manipulated, logs can be corrupted, logs can be deleted, and logs are not protected. So with all of that, a whole lot of problems can happen, right? So with that, I complete my session. Do I have enough time to talk more, guys? Can anyone help me out? How much time am I left with?
Yes, Mr. Clement, you have another 14 minutes.
12:50. Okay, right, guys. So since our friend gave it to me earlier, so I have 14 minutes, guys. 1-4. Right, I suppose. I'm supposed to finish at 12:50. Okay, guys, fine. Another 12 minutes at least. All right, guys. So let's continue over here. I'm gonna still share my screen. Let me give you more information right from here. So now, when you're talking about the defense of depth, my dear friends, okay. So I have actually spoken to you on level 1. I've spoken to you about level 2. Now, there's a lot of things that happens. There's a whole lot of important stuff that happens outside your network, which you might not be picking up from your perimeter perspective, correct? So from there, outside the network, what is happening? You need a proper threat intelligence, right? Cyber threat intelligence products and providers and services will be able to tell you what kind of exposure that your company has out there in the surface web, the deep web, and the dark web. So all of these, they can actually bring out to you. We have a partner in this cybersecurity agenda. We have Mr. Ali, who is actually talking from Recorded Future. He will show you how much of your information can be picked up from the surface web, from the deep web, and the dark web. The moment your data is going to be leaked out from somewhere, It's not necessary. A lot of people actually think as long as I actually guard my house, nothing is going to go out. No, there are people who are coming in and going out. Your subcontractors, your vendors. So all these partners can be contributing for your breach. For example, there's one financial institution who asked us to go and do audit on collection agencies. These collection agencies takes data from the bank, and these are the guys who calls you and said, hey, have you you have not paid your credit card, or you have not paid your hire purchase payments. These are the people who actually call you. They have your name, they have your IC number or passport number, from an Indian perspective, Aadhaar number, and they have all kind of personal identifiable informations about you, including your spending patterns and a whole lot of informations, guys. Now, are these guys secure? When I audited them, I had a surprise. I literally had a heart attack. Most of them didn't even have a proper antivirus running. Most of them were running on Windows XP or Windows 7 SP1, which contains tons of vulnerabilities. So it might not be your organization, because as a bank or as a MNC, you have locked your security. Let's assume that you have locked your security, but the other people that you are sharing that data with to support your day-to-day operations might not have that kind of a foolproof system. So that is more important over there. Now, coming from work from home perspective, I want to use the next 10 minutes for work from home perspective. When we are working from home, we have moved away from the enterprise defenses that has been protecting us. The moment we enter into our office, we have so many bells and whistles to ring if there was some kind of compromises, some kind of anomalies, behaviors, right? But the moment you come out and you're sitting in your house, you do not have those hi-fi perimeter defenses. You don't have what you call as a firewall. You might be sitting right behind a normal modem and your wireless router. So now you're exposed on your front gate completely. Now come back to your own laptop. There was a study. There was actually at least 3 to 4 studies internationally, and they released on 10th of June 2020, early this month. They released those reports. What I see consistently in that report is more than 60% of the employees, staff, is working from home. They are using their own laptop to connect to their office network, because all these people were using desktop when they were in the office. Since they can't use the desktop anymore, now they're all using their own laptops or their own devices to connect to your enterprise network. Now look from the security perspective, my dear friends. As an IT enterprise guy or an enterprise security guy, do you have control of the security of the laptop which personally belongs to the employee? You have no control. Do you know what is the operating system they are running? Do you know what patch that they are actually installed? Do you know whether they have a commercial antivirus or not in the first place? Is it an active license or not? So there is a lot of scenarios where we now totally have no control. So when we worked again with Recorded Future the last couple of months, and we started finding all kind of different malwares, there is one particular malware which pulled me for further investigation, called as Azurult malware, AZURULT or AZRULT, Azurult malware. This guy was technically dropping a lot of ransomwares all these years. For the last 2 months, what this guy doing is he infects the computer and remains dormant. Now that's where it becomes very important, guys. The malwares are coming into your computer as you're working from home. It takes over your computer and remains silent. Then what might be their intention? What is their objective? They are laying low. They are keeping quiet. Can I put a very simple term? They are ticking time bombs. They know that these people are in their houses. So there is nothing much you can actually pull out from the house. So they are waiting literally for these machines to go back to their offices, if it is office machine. If it is the employee's machine, the employee is already connecting to the VPN tunnel straight into the office network. A lot of people are using VPNs to connect from their laptop all the way into their office, right? Most of you would be doing that. And I have seen few of them are using free VPNs. Never ever do that. You don't know who is behind it and who is inside the VPN watching what you're doing. Always trust and believe on the VPNs that your firewall is generating with a certificate, so no one can actually use it in the middle. Now, even if you're using a VPN, if the employee is using his own personal device, if the employee's machine is infected, you are piping the infection straight into your central servers in your office. Do you have defenses in place to inspect the VPN traffic? Are you monitoring these packets that is coming in from all these different devices? That's the question that you have to think from defense in depth strategy when it comes for your work from home. Okay, there goes my first bell. Okay, so that's very, very important, guys. So if you're actually opening up like VPNs, you have to look at that packets that is coming in, verify, check it, and then allow it to connect. Don't simply connect your VPN straight, because your VPN tunnels will be a malware carrier all through into your infrastructure. Second thing, the use of VPN skyrocketed. There's a 33% actually increase in RDP. A lot of people started using remote desktop protocols, RDP, to remotely connect to their servers. If you can go to Shodan, okay, Shodan is a search engine for all kind of online devices, you can find there is an increase in the number of RDP servers that has come up. And when I actually drill down all this information and I go into Shodan and just play around, you find most of them don't have enough security on their RDP connections. A lot of people still believe RDP is secure by design or in nature, which is not, right? So careful with that, guys, because you are actually living on VPN, you're living on RDP. Both of them might contribute to the compromise in your organization. So that's very, very actually important. Next, from an enterprise security perspective, from an official security perspective, you need to have a proper cybersecurity strategy and plan to support the work from home people and the connection that is coming in, as I actually explained to you. The other thing is you need to have a proper plan to onboard these guys when they come back into office. See, we are only talking about work from home, and it's not going to be forever that these guys are going to be home. They are going to come to office for something, correct? And they're going to come back. As in Malaysia, we get back into offices slowly. By 1st of July, mostly, I think all of us are going to be there, or in August at least. But now, as these people who have been living and working from home get their laptops, whether personal laptops or the company laptops, immaterial, when that laptop comes back into the office, do not allow these machines to connect into the network blindly. The moment you put your network, and if the machine is infected, you're going to have a lateral movements all over the place, correct? And that is exactly what the bad guys are waiting for. So set up a staging environment. Let them get the machine. You connect to this isolate network, scan it with all kind of devices you have. Make sure that all the softwares are up to date, patched. Remember, guys, most of the enterprises might have locked the patch because they have a central patching system where they actually download the patch, test the patch, and then push the patch from the server to all the devices, depending upon your patch management policy, correct? So now, since the people are all sitting in their houses, they might not have connection to the server. They might not be receiving the patches from the centralized server. That means there are high possibilities that your computers are not being patched. So when you bring back these computers back into your organization, please make sure that you have a staging where you check that out. You make sure that everything is up to date. There is enough scans that has been done. Nothing is there. Then allow them to connect into your office network. So at least have this particular check as an onboarding process in your offices. If you're not gonna do that, you are gonna see a lot of attacks that's gonna happen in your organization as these remote devices, because these remote devices might have become a rogue device during its absence from your environment in their home network, right? Careful, guys. So I've actually given you what is a cyber kill chain, what are the defense in depth strategies, the layer 1, the layer 2, and I've given you a map over here, as well as I've told you how to handle work from home security, as well as when these people come back to office, what are the things over here. And one more thing before I hand over to the next session, guys. Throughout the sessions, there are 30 minutes back to back, right? Only the demo is 45 minutes. Rest everything is actually back to back 30 minutes. You might not have a chance to ask questions. Please do drop your questions in the chat box. In the cybersecurity track, we have a 30 minutes later today for Ask the Experts. So we will collect all your questions and then we will actually answer all of that questions. Myself, okay, Pat and Amitabh and few others, we will be answering all your questions live. So post your questions, we will collect your questions and we will answer it in the last session of the day today, which is Ask the Experts. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the other speakers session. They have wonderful content to share with you. Thank you, guys. Okay, back to MC.